the church just notified me that it was 5, or a bit later than 5 actually. Spanish time is always 2-3 minutes later. And it's my great pleasure to welcome you all here for this live session of the Global Bean project in the show gardens. I'm very happy to be together with Susan here. We are sitting on the same table. She is connected also from another account here. You see my hand maybe. And Susan is a partner from the Global Bean as well. And she's just visiting Catalonia now, so from England. Susan, if you want to say hi, you can speak in this.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
We are going to show some slides, but mostly you will see the gardeners speaking live from their gardens. Now we are 33 people in the room. That's quite nice. Thanks a lot for joining. And this is the agenda for today. So I will give a short introduction about how and what, first, why grow legumes and what are the Global Bean show gardens. Then we will be live with 5 show gardeners in 5 different countries. And that's the main part of the meeting, of course. You will have the opportunity to ask questions to the gardeners. And then there will be a few announcements from the Global Bean. So let me start with the introduction. Yeah, just before that, Kritika is going to send a link to a feedback questionnaire in the chat. It would be really nice if you could take a few seconds in the end of the meeting to just tell us what you thought about the conference today. So first big question, why grow legumes? I guess most of you already at least tried to grow legumes. And as you know, they can be grown as vegetables, like on this picture on the upper right side. You can eat the fresh pods of peas or beans, or the fresh seeds, like these green seeds, which must be peas, or edamame seeds here on this picture from Elizabeth from Berlin. They can also be harvested as dry seeds. That's what we call pulses: beans, chickpeas, lentils, fava beans, peas. So you would cook those dry seeds to eat them in your kitchen. And legumes can also be used as green manure, like this lucerne or alfalfa you see on this picture in the middle, because they have this ability to fix the nitrogen from the air, so they can enrich the soil. And they can also be grown as animal fodder, like this alfalfa or clover or many other forage species. But also, I guess some of us are also growing legumes just because they are very beautiful and very diverse, and also to multiply seeds, to exchange, and to have a beautiful garden. And we will hear stories from different people around the world today who are growing legumes for all these reasons. And the stories we will hear today come from the Global Bean show gardeners. And the show gardeners are a network of demonstration gardens of people who have some experience growing legumes, all with their different goals and their different methods. And as part of the Global Bean project, we are maintaining and moderating this network. And these show gardeners, they keep sending us short videos from their gardens. And you can see those videos on the YouTube channel of the Global Bean. So please do have a look at the YouTube channel and see what the show gardeners sent us. Since more than 1 year, we are collecting lots of videos about all kinds of topics of legume cultivation, from seed multiplication, intercropping, beans, peas, lentils, fava beans, in all these countries you see on the map, all these little points, plus Kenya, Ethiopia, and India. So it's quite international. And today we will hear from 5 of these 12 or 13, or I don't remember exactly how many we have. And it's my pleasure to welcome as the first speaker today, Ecke from the Global Field in Berlin. Ecke is with Lisa together in the field. Ecke is the main gardener at this really nice educational demonstration project in Berlin. They have run lots of different crops, and Eke is really curious, so he grows lots of exotic species as well. He's going to show us a few beans and his practices.
Hello, dear friends of the Global Bean. What I wanted to do is to show you the variety of beans which we grow here at the Global Field, at least part of it. Here in this plot we planted different legumes which bear the name bean in some part of the world. As you know, bean is just common speech. Yeah, this is of course different species, and we just call them beans. Yeah, some of them are closely related, others are, let's say, a little bit more unusual and further apart. So we start over here. This is an alubia bean, sometimes also called white bean or white kidney bean. As you probably guessed already from the leaves, this is a phaseolus. We did not quite know if it's a climbing variety or a more bushy type. Okay, now we found out it's climbing, but it develops quite nicely here, I must say, and we are looking forward to the harvest. Right next to it is urit bean. Urit bean is an Indian or Asian legume. So whilst this one is coming from the Americas, this one is coming from Asia, probably from India, and it is closely related to the bean which we find next to it, which this year has some difficulties. This is mung bean. Mung beans are a little more well known than urit beans, and here in Germany they are used quite a lot, even though people don't know. So if you buy soy sprouts, this is most likely like this, not sprouts from soy but from mung bean. Right next to it, one which is really a bit unusual and also has some difficulties growing, but it's picking up. Huh? I see it now growing. This is moth bean in English, Mattenbohne in German, a very hardy small legume. Also from Asia, so an old world bean, and it's my first time growing it. It seems to have a more upright growth habit, quite similar to mung bean and urit bean. We have sown them a little bit too dense here, not knowing how it would develop, so probably I take some out during the week. Next to it is a really more rare bean, which I personally have never seen in Germany. This is rice bean, small brownish reddish beans which are eaten mixed with rice, hence the name, I suppose, but also the shape of the bean itself resembles somehow a rice grain. Yeah, they do quite well, I would say, and looking forward that they start flowering, which will be probably very soon. I think I see already some flowers appearing here. So the next two here are common garden beans. This is a red tippy and maxi. Oh no, this is not a garden bean, this is a red kidney bean. I confounded. The garden bean is next to this. So this is a red kidney bean. The reason why I confounded that is kidney beans are just Phaseolus vulgaris, aka our common garden bean. Yeah. So next to it, a red variety of or purple variety, which is called purple tippy. So they are approaching now already the first harvest. I mean, if you can, please harvest them like this. This is the best quality. Of course, then you will have less harvest in terms of kilograms. And right next to the purple tippy, yeah, probably normally you would harvest like this. Yeah, this is a. So this one here is maxi, a very common garden bean variety here in Germany, widely grown. So we have here 3 Phaseolus vulgaris, common garden bean or common bean, and then here this one, I don't know. Oh, I trampled on it. Sorry. This one is a horse bean. Also the first time I'm growing this. Looking forward to find out how it will then look when it produces. Also from Asia, horse gram it's called in English, I think, and it develops really nicely here. Yeah, also upright growth habit, a little bit like the other Asian ones. And next to it is, let me check. So there's yeah, this is black turtle bean. I'm not quite sure. I did also not find the botanical name. Maybe you can help me out. Also upright growth, I think tendency to trailing. From growth habit, I would put that next to black-eyed peas. Like the way it presents itself, I would say this is very closely related to black-eyed peas, which we have in a different section this year. So those are our beans here in the plot. We have some climbing ones, but they are not worth showing because they suffered a little bit from lack of water. We had some problems with water in May, during May here, but those ones, they are at least developing, and the other ones will pick up. So maybe in September I can give you a better picture of our climbing beans. Less the alluvia bean, it turned out to be a climbing one, but anyways. So this is the variety of beans which we grow here. As you have probably already, I mean, you probably already seen that I'm more looking into different species and not so much into different varieties, and I try to give the widest variety possible to our visitors. Let's see how they develop. I'm looking forward to the harvest, and now I'm going to show you our catastrophe, which we have every year here. But I think we have now identified the reason, even though it's not very comforting, because we can't do much about it. I meet you at the pea plot, which is over there, so see you there. Okay, so as already announced, I'm going to show you our problem which we have every year, no matter where I put those particular crops, legumes. We have this disease, and this year, after one of our Greek colleagues presented me a plant which had basically the same symptoms, in my point of view, if I saw the picture right, I made a little effort to identify, and I would propose an identification of this disease at the end. So basically the crops affected are pea, which is the most severely affected, then lentil. Okay, so there's no difference between pea and lentil. Lentil and pea are the most affected, and then also always chickpea, even though chickpea is not as early affected by this disease as is pea and lentil. Peas and lentil, basically here on the global field, it's rare that they reach flowering stage. Yeah, it's really rare, and I had only once a lentil harvest. That was, I think, 2 years ago. So now we have here a chickpea. As you can see, it develops the first flowers. It's a black kabuli. This is the name of the variety, and those are not the first symptoms, but very typical symptoms. So there's a yellowing of the whole plant, starting at the bottom. Here on this side is another more advanced stage of this disease. I don't know, I hope you can see it. And then in the end, of course, so this is the end, as one says. So what we have is a general wilting, yellowing and wilting, and they die off quite fastly. Yeah? There's no harvest to be expected once you identify some symptoms, which is of course a pity, yeah? Because people want to see peas, people want to see lentils, which is not well known in Germany as a plant, and of course growing chickpeas in Berlin is also unusual, so you want to present that to our visitors, but as you can see, Another species of another crop which is also affected, but this I realized just this year is let us go over there, is methi. I don't know the name in English. This is the Hindi name, I suppose. This is Boxhorn clay in German, methi. This is obviously also the same disease, so I have now 4 species which are affected. Let me show you a cut through the stem of an affected pea plant. So first of all, symptoms, yeah, as you can see, it has not even developed any flower. There was one flower, and even here, okay, but can we call this a harvest? I don't think so. So look at the plant. General wilting and yellowing, starting usually at the bottom. What I find also quite typical is those the way those leaves are shaped. Yeah, this bending down of the outer leaves edges. Yeah, and then the stem. I prepared a cut here. Let me take it in my hand. Maybe then we can zoom a little more. So this is the upper part, this is the root. The roots are completely dead. And as you can see here, yeah, the whole xylem is blocked and basically dead. Yeah, brownish color, brown reddish color here. If you cut it freshly, it's really a little more reddish. Yeah, here, and it's a general rot of the xylem here in the, but it's more like the part of the stem which is closer to the root. The farther you go up, the less pronounced is it. But I think this is very nicely visible here. After talking to some people and also searching the internet for images and what could it be, I would propose that it is a Fusarium wild. Fusarium is of course a fungus, and I would say it's this or another one. If you know better, then please tell me. Basically, what does that mean for me and for anyone who has that disease in the garden? So I first tell you the standard measures which you should put in place in order to at least limit the spread of the disease and maybe also grow legumes again normally. So the first thing which you should know, the spores of this fungus remain in the soil, especially on plant debris. Yeah? It is specialized in legumes, this particular Fusarium. Of course, we know Fusarium also from tomatoes and so on, even from bananas. So this Fusarium is specialized in legumes, and the first thing which you should know, it remains in the soil, and if you grow several times legumes in the same place, which is not recommended anyway, it would then accumulate and you would have earlier and earlier infections. So how do we treat it? I mean, how do we go about it if it remains in the soil? The first thing is remove dead plant parts. Do not put them on the compost. Burn them somewhere. Put them in a plastic bag and burn them elsewhere, or just throw them away elsewhere, not in your neighbor's garden. I know you people. So the next thing is you have to have a very wide rotation, like at least 5 years I found in the literature, but I've read also 7 years. So and that means no legumes. That is also legumes as weeds. Yeah. So this one will survive on some legumes without causing any symptoms, and if you come back with your peas or if you come back with your lentils, it's already there waiting for you. So at least 5 years no legumes in this place. And then also, if you work the soil, put some hygiene measures in place. That is, you cannot use the hoe which you used in the place where you had that disease present and walk to the next bed and work with the same hoe there. You have to disinfect your hose. Also, please keep in mind that we are carrying soil around from our shoes. You should keep that in mind. For us here on the global field, the situation is a little bit dire, I would say, for those mentioned crops, because wherever I planted them, it's now my 4th season here, wherever I planted them, legumes, of course I do rotation, wherever I planted them, the disease is already there. So that tells me, okay, it is present all over the place. So now I don't know what I do because I can't take all legumes out of the global field as an educational project and tell them come back in 5 years. So I have to find other ways. I don't know yet. Also, what you should keep in mind, be careful with seeds which you multiply yourself, because they might be infected with this disease. If you have disease plant, okay, of course, this is a general rule, do not use seeds from diseased plants. We should know, we all should know this, but those spores, they are also present if the plant is not showing any visible symptoms. Makes it very difficult. If you encounter problems like this, please think about it if it's not worth buying some seeds, and there are resistant varieties. Remember, the name of the disease is Fusarium. Just ask your seed vendor if there are any Fusarium resistant varieties. So that's more or less. Oh yeah, then another thing which I read, which was quite promising, especially of those of you who do organic agriculture. It was shown in some trials and studies that if you increase the amount of organic matter and compost, okay, compost is kind of an organic matter, in the soil, this decreases the pressure from the disease. Very interesting. A living soil provides some protection. And then it seems, but I don't know, I've not yet found out in Germany if they are available. There are some fungi and bacteria with which you treat the soil, the seeds, which might prevent to some extent an infection. So yeah, this is the situation. Of course, not very satisfying for me, but I hope I could share at least the disappointment with you, and hope to see you soon, and be aware of this disease because it's not fun. Bye bye.
Okay, it has very dry leaves and a bit like crisp.
Exactly, that's the pea plant, but I know from Eke that also the chickpeas are having this encounter the same problem, and we encounter also the same problem for the lentils too, and for also a type of clover.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this part that Eke was showing before that he cut is it's completely dry.
That's the stem?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And do you know what's happening in Berlin with the legumes? Why are they all so sick?
So that's what we are trying to find out. And I think, I don't know if perhaps it's an open question also to the group here of participants, if it's a disease that you already have encountered and if you are familiar with this.
From what Eke told me, it looks very much like what we call soil legume fatigue. And I'm going to share the screen again now. We have one article on the Global Bean platform, which is describing this syndrome, or this. It's like a set of different diseases when you grow legumes many years on the same space without alternating often with other crops. Some diseases, some fungal diseases develop in the soil and multiply, and then after some years it starts to be really difficult because lots of different legume species are susceptible to this complex of fungal diseases, and that's according to what Eke told me, that's probably what's happening in your garden there. I don't know if I can open this link right now. No. So let's put this link in the chat. If someone can, okay, someone just put it there. So we have this article on the platform written by Hubert, which explains the different symptoms and the cause and how you can test your soil, and then which different species are more or less susceptible, and what you can do to avoid this kind of problems. So basically, it's alternating between lots of different legume species and take cultivation breaks between legume crops. Eke is not with you anymore, Lisa?
No, he had to turn off the water. I'm sorry, like we're having a rotation of the water system here. And we were not quite sure if the technique is working. So we don't have Eke anymore, but perhaps he can say a few words at the end of the meeting. If there is anyone who would like to share something in the chat, we can reply in the chat, or if there is still a bit of room at the end.
Yeah. To conclude on this, what Eke and Lisa have shown, they can still grow some legumes. For instance, I think the phaseolus beans are still okay, but most of the other legume species, they are quite susceptible to this disease that is in the soil right now, and let's see how Eke deals with it in the future. And I think we should move to the next presenter. I managed to go back to the slides. We will share the link to the presentation later, and we have a few slides with more pictures and more text from all the speakers where they describe their practices for the different crops that they've been presenting. So the idea is that if you want to grow these crops yourself in your own garden, you can use the information that's there. Of course, you will have to adapt it to the size of your garden and your favorite crops, but you can get inspired by what the show gardeners are. Yeah. We can check if Amanuel is already here in the room. He's the next speaker, right from Ethiopia. Let's check if Amanuel has connection from Ethiopia.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. This is Amanuel Samuel from Gardula People's Development Association, which is found in Ethiopia, southern part of Ethiopia. And we have a small plot of like 1,000 meters square of demonstration garden for training the surrounding small-scale farmers about soil and water conservation and integrated planting of, intercrop planting of legumes with another vegetables and crops varieties. So in this mini garden, we have plenty of legume varieties. So we are not only producing legumes, but we integrate legumes with other vegetables and crop varieties for intercropping, as well as for nitrogen fixing of the soil. Also, we are more we are using those legumes for consumption, especially in our area. We are as a staple food, we use legume varieties. For example, today in this garden we have bush legumes which are climbing on the wood structures, like this one.
Can you show us? Yes, the climbing beans?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, this one. You see,
it's not very high. Is it going to grow higher later?
Yeah. That's why we are constructing the wood structures for easily climbing on the wood. So it is more expansive and running. So most of the time, the community grows such varieties of legumes under the fence structure.
Yeah. You showed me some pictures of these of some beans that you had harvested already. Is it because you have two growing seasons?
Yes.
So these
Yeah.
ones are the ones you planted recently or more recently,
The
and
one
you have
which is already growing, not ready for harvesting, but it's nowadays it's growing.
nice.
But there are also other bean varieties which are already under harvest. As you see, our garden is a mixture of lots of vegetables and cropped varieties. So here we have, we keep the soil by covering the mulch and growing different varieties of vegetables. Like here we can see onion and salad and beetroot, round cabbage. You see around here we have false banana, which is drought resistant. Most of in Ethiopian culture, we grow this one because it is drought resistant and nourished with calcium, mineral calcium. So around the false banana, commonly we call it false banana is insect, which is drought resistant. And around the insect, we have also a climbing bean. You see? Can you see?
Yes, yeah, we see it very well. The insect plant is not a legume, but I'm curious. You
not
eat
a legume, but we planted the
roots,
legume
right?
around the. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We have also a squash, and in case of the water and soil conservation, we have a swale structure here because the plot of land is more exposed for erosion. It's very prone for erosion, so we dug such kind of a swale to protect the running water as well as the mineral and the soil. Here is also another climbing bean.
Does this swale also help you to collect the running water to use it later?
Exactly. Before 2 years ago, this place was, nothing was here because of it is very prone to erosion. Nowadays, we dug a swale structure, and here is also spillways, where once the water is full of, the soil is full of the water, and this will be lets the water which is overflow into the spillways. You see. So here in each swale, next to the swale, we have a berm. This is structure. So in this structure, we grow, sweet potato.
And before, earlier in the season, you had fava beans with the sweet potato, right?
Yeah.
Is it all harvested already?
Already harvested. Some little already here. Fava bean, which is very dry.
Yeah.
And even yesterday, the gardener were harvesting the fava bean. In between each vegetables, we have fava bean, but there are also other fascioles beans, which are already harvested here.
They were growing with the maize?
Yes, with the maize and other crops.
Can you show us a few seeds of this one? They are completely dry.
Yes, it's already dried.
Is this a bush bean or a climbing bean?
It is fascioles family, fascioles vulgaris.
Yeah.
And
did it grow high on the maize, or did it stay more bushy on the ground?
Stays on the ground.
Okay.
On the ground. It stays on the ground. Yeah.
And that's one you would cook and okay. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you show us the method you use for threshing, or is it not set up right now?
In case of when we are collecting the seeds from the legume, we what we call, I don't know. We maybe I sent you some videos yesterday.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah. Maybe we could show this for just
please,
1 second, because
yes, please.
That's
practically our gardener was collecting the legumes, and she was collecting the seeds. Here you see we have another varieties of legumes. Sorry. I think this one is, yeah, this is black bean. Yeah. See?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm just setting up the video so that we can see the few images where your colleague was beating the pots with the stick, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, here is also another one.
oh, nice. Well, you have how many different beans do you have in your garden?
More than 10 varieties of legumes. Yeah, in case of irrigation, we use clay pot irrigation, you see, especially in dry season. We use this clay pot. We put those clay pots around the vegetables and legumes, and the water inside the clay pot slowly infiltrates into the soil and covers around 60 centimeter diameter, and it can water every vegetable and legume around 60 centimeter diameter. Can you see the clay pot?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we have also plenty of clay pots already. This one is harvested legume. We have plenty of clay pots here waiting for to be in place for the next dry season, you see.
And how often would you have to fill these clay pots with water again? Every week or
every week, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
it depends upon the size of the clay pots.
And you showed me that you use water that you collect from the rooftop nearby, right?
Exactly. I can now nextly I'm going to show you the water harvest. Here is also the gutter system. You see?
So you have lots
everywhere, every part of the garden we have legume. You see, already harvested. This one.
Yeah.
You see? Yeah. You see? So this one is the rooftop water harvesting system, where we can collect the water in summer season, Ethiopian summer, rainy season, and we collect this rooftop water into through the gutter system into the reservoir. For example, I think we have water. I think we have water here. You see?
Yes. So that's what you use to fill the pots, and then you have your irrigation system.
Exactly. Using pipe and drip irrigation, we can fill all the clay pots, especially in dry season. Not now. Now we are receiving rain. It is summer in Ethiopia. So we have different varieties of vegetables and trees, because it is a mini agroforestry demonstration garden. You see, legumes everywhere, different varieties of legumes.
Yeah, because when you harvest so many different varieties, you need to leave them to dry in different places so that you don't mix them up, right?
Yeah, the reason
I would
why
like to show. I would like to show Amanuel the piece of the video where your colleague is threshing the plants. Okay, so I will share my screen so that we see your video, and then some people can ask you 2 or 3 questions. Let me just check if I managed to share the sound as well. Now you should be seeing the screen with the video, but you don't have the sound, right? So wait.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Just 1 second. How do I do that? Your computer sound. Okay, now let me put that back a little bit.
We are collecting the legumes. Yeah, black, red kidney bean and fava bean.
Okay, I hope you could see the video or well with the sound. Let me put back Amanuel live. Okay.
Yes.
Amanuel, you're live again. Now,
Yes, yes.
I think we will need to move to the next speaker soon, but we have time for 1 or 2 questions for you from the audience. And I see from the chat, there was someone asking what is the name of the blue beans you've been showing. Could you tell us the name? There was a bean that was blue, or kind of blue.
Is it blue, red,
Yeah.
or?
Oh, it was
black?
it was dark blue, almost black, maybe. Some shades of
black.
blue.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Do you know the name of the variety?
Yeah, I know it locally. You know, we have different varieties of legumes, but I don't know the international names or English names.
Okay.
Maybe I can explain it. For example, the climbing one, the one I explained it in my video in the first session was, we call it papal o. It is a climbing bush bean. Most of the time we grow it on around the fences, and we use most of the time it's for cooking local food like puchana or kurkufa, and the dark one is also called ጥቁር አደንጓሬ or black kidney bean. So it is also used for cooking like cultural, I mean traditional foods in Ethiopia, especially in southern part of Ethiopia, called fosese or blambillo. I don't know, maybe next time if I got the opportunity to show cooking, how to cook Ethiopian, especially southern Ethiopian traditional foods, maybe I can mention all those things in the food recipes of traditional foods that we eat here.
That sounds great. Thanks a lot, Amanuel. I think this answers Stefan's question. I really had the feeling that I was walking with you in your garden. It was nice. The internet connection worked perfectly, and it was super nice to see not only the legumes, but also how you manage water in your specific climate, which is of course very different from the one we have in different places in Europe. But we can really definitely get inspired from the way you collect water and the way you save it also. I mean, this clay pot irrigation method is probably very efficient. You're not losing water through evaporation by doing it like this. So something that I would like to try in my own garden, definitely. Is there another question for Amanuel, or I think we should move to the next speaker? There will be the opportunity to ask a few more questions in the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Also. Okay. Thanks so much, Amanuel. Thanks so much. I hope you can stay with us to listen to these presenters. Florian is already on. I don't know if I can make him also put him on the spotlight. Yes. Florian, can you hear us well? We see you, we hear you, I think.
Yes,
Great.
We can hear you. Can you hear us and see us?
Yes. It's really nice. You have the beautiful mountains.
Yes, we are standing here at the field in Schaan in Liechtenstein. So next to me is Samuel Schirscher. He's the young farmer. So hello from Liechtenstein. We are very happy to talk about beans here in Liechtenstein. Samuel is the son of the first farmer who is like the biological pioneer of biological production here in Liechtenstein. And now here in Liechtenstein, we are in Schaan, and we will show you how we grow legumes. Especially, I will start with soybean, because here in Schaan is the field of Samuel, and I can show you. We have here the first time that we grow this type of soybean. And the soybean is for the human consumption. And we have here just near us, there is a factory. It's called Hilcona, and it's a very big factory to make some products out of this protein plants, because we want to plant this, but also sell this at a local market here in Liechtenstein, but also make some products with these soybeans.
And is there something specific you need to do so that this soybean can be marketed for human consumption? Because most of it is still grown for animal feed, right?
Yes, we have here a special variety. It's called the ES Commando. And this variety has very short growing circle. So we started here at sowing date was the 20th of May. And we would like to harvest them around the mid of September. And then after we harvest it, we have to dry immediately the beans. And we have here a collaboration with another local farmer here in Liechtenstein. And then after this drying process, we are searching for other companies to make also tofu for human consumption. And we will try also to get this local contact and to get the local products, because here now in Liechtenstein or until now we don't have local products from soya beans, and we would like also to sell them at local market levels. Yes.
Great. So it's like a pioneering work to establish cultivation of soybeans for human consumption in Liechtenstein. And indeed, if you want to grow the soybean to make tofu, you cannot take any soy variety, because some of the ones that are very productive for animal feed, they will not taste good in tofu.
Yes, exactly. And we choose this variety to get these trials also with the local partners. And our first step is to look how it works in the field to cultivate the soya, and also the next step how it works to get some products with the soybean. And we're having also a network of biological farmers, and they are coming together and going to the fields to talking about the practice and to share their knowledge. So in practice, and there's a very important factor here in Liechtenstein, or also near the border to Switzerland or in Austria, that the knowledge of these legumes can go better and better, and to increase the amount of farmers that are growing these types of legumes here in Liechtenstein. Yes.
Sounds good. Yeah, teamwork is always going a bit further and faster sometimes even. What are the big challenges for this soybean crop? What have you done so that you have it quite nice? It doesn't look like it's a lot of weeds. So you probably used some kind of machine to remove the weeds between the rows of soybean, right?
Yes, we had. We have a soil preparation, ploughless, and then 2 times with cultivator. So it's biological products, and now the weather is very hot. So we are having here 36 degrees. So it's the hottest day here in Liechtenstein. And now the problem is with the soybeans. It looks very nice now, but we have to see in August or in September, then when the plant is going very dry, and then also a lot of grass coming. So this is a little bit of a problem, but we will see how it works. It depends also from the weather, from the amount of rain that's coming. But now at this stage, we are not doing nothing anymore. So
okay. So you used a machine to remove the weeds, but you're not going to irrigate.
No, there is no irrigation, and also we had no fertilization. And
okay.
They're looking very good, yeah.
Is it already flowering?
Yes.
Can you try to show us the tiny flowers? I'm not sure if everyone knows how they look like.
Hopefully.
Can go a little bit closer.
Small. Starting
now. A bit lower. No. Ah, yeah. So the tiny pink dot that you see is the flower.
Yeah.
It's not very sharp, the image, but we can also post a link to a picture where we can see the soybean flowers a bit better. It's interesting because the soybean is one of the legumes that produces the seeds with the highest protein content. And it's also one with the tiniest flowers. So you're expecting to harvest this in mid of September when the whole plant is completely dry, right?
Yes, when it's completely dry, and then it depends also from the weather how much we have to dry them again after the harvest. Yeah, and we have a small drying machine at another farming unit, and this is very important when you want to produce when we want to produce quality, also for the next steps. Because here, this field, this is about 2,000 square meters. And
so it's like test size.
Yes. Yeah.
And you going to harvest it with a normal combine harvester, I guess, no?
Yes,
like the same
normal,
as the one for cereals.
Yes.
Adjusting a bit the parameters, maybe, so that you don't break the seeds, or.
Yeah, we have to look, because here in the region it's not so common, soybeans, and so also we have to look with the person who is harvesting to get the right machine steps, so that we are not damaging the plant, and the seeds.
Okay. So finger crossed for this first soybean for human consumption in Liechtenstein. Thank you. We are going to share with you the slides where Florian wrote all the details of this cultivation, so that you can have a look later if you want. You
So
also
we'll
had another crop you wanted to show us, no?
I can just come over a little bit, and then so now we're standing here at the pea. So these are peas, also for human consumption, and these are summer peas. So as you can see here, when we open it now, I can show you, like looking like this one now, a little bit. So you can see, hopefully they're looking like this, yeah. And these are the summer peas, and this is the second year that we are cultivating them here in Liechtenstein. And this is a culture that works very well also in our zones, and also with the Samuel Schirscher. And we started at 23 of March to sowing them. And then now we think it takes 5 or 6 days again, and then we can harvest the field. And this field behind me is about 0.9 hectares. And with this piece, we would like also to make hummus. So we have also tried to make a local hummus with this piece, but also with other varieties. And these varieties we had also last year. It's called Astronaute, and this is a very good tasting variety for human consumption. And also here on this field, we have no irrigation and no fertilization. And it's very important also regarding to the German field that we have the breaks between the cultivation of peas. So here in Liechtenstein, we have 5 or 6 years of break until we cultivate them again on the same field.
Very good. Okay. I heard that in organic farming, one of the difficulties when growing peas can be also the weeds. Do you have a specific technique here? Do you also intercrop the peas sometimes with cereals?
Yes, at this point we have a very good soil, so we don't have so much grass or different other things here in the soil, because also the farmer has a very good hand. And also here at this point we had weeding 3 times with a curry. I don't know the name. It's like a Striegel 3 times, but also just at the beginning. At now we don't make nothing more. So it was just in March, April, and May. And here in Liechtenstein in April and May it was a lot of rain, and that's why it was a little bit difficult to get them started.
So Striegel in German, it's harrowing in English. So that's the machine that goes with some metal fingers on the soil to scratch the surface of the soil and uproot the small weeds. Yeah. Someone in the chat is asking us which color of the flower had this variety of pea.
The
white?
color of the flower is white. Yes,
okay.
White. Yeah, it's a white one. Yeah.
This
but maybe also in the next years we try to get other varieties with different colors to get also different products or different variety. Yeah, there.
Most of the time, the peas that have pink or purple flowers have more tannins in the seeds, so it gives a different taste. And I know that some peas taste really good, even the ones with lots of tannins, and some are really bad and are a bit difficult to use in the human consumption. So maybe you can look at references of people who have done these tests, or you make your own experience. Yeah. Some are very productive, but are only used for feeding animals, just like for some soybean, because they have a taste that doesn't really work for us. Stefan is asking if he could exchange peas with you. So some kind of seed swap, I guess.
Yes, of course. Yeah. I have the contact of mine on the slide, so we can just get in contact with email, and we will find a solution, because we have other also varieties here to test in Liechtenstein, and I think we can find a solution. Yeah.
And someone else is also asking which are the best countries in Europe to grow the soybeans.
Well, I think soybeans, because of fear of climate change, is also, so Liechtenstein, we are here the Rhine Valley, so it's a little bit climatic, a good valley, but also I think Germany or Austria or Italy, soybeans, it's important that they get a little bit of rain just when they are starting to grow, so at the beginning. And here in Liechtenstein, we start to grow soya in mid of May. So then they have to have very warm weather with a lot of during also the flowering. They have it's very important to get also rain, so we have a very nice yield. And then in August and September, it's important that there are also high temperatures, and then the soybean can grow very fast, and we would like to harvest them in early September. So then we don't have so much problem with wheat and yeah.
Yeah, you have a very early variety, because otherwise the climate maybe is not as warm as in the north of Italy, for instance, which is also one of the biggest producers in Europe. In France, also the cultivation of soybean has been expanding a lot in the last 10 to 15 years. And in Germany now, in the south, is also quite some soybean also for human consumption in tofu. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions for Florian? Or Florian, do you have something else that you would like to share about the peas? Some yield expectation, maybe? How much do you think you are going to harvest from this field?
Last year we had about 2.5 tons per hectare yield of the peas. So it's quite a good yield. So
yeah. Especially if it has a good quality and you can use it in human consumption, then it's interesting. Yeah. Okay, great. I hope you can stay with us a little bit longer, maybe if there are more questions for you towards the end of the meeting. Otherwise, we can also send you the questions if more questions arrive in the chat. I will show the slide quickly so that people can see your email address also in case they want to contact you directly. So that's the information Florian sent us. I'm not going to show this into detail, and this is the contact information from Florian. Maybe you can share it in the chat also. Okay, thanks a lot, Florian. And Samuel, I think was the name of.
Thank you, Samuel.
Vielen Dank. And we will move to our next speaker, who is Eduard, who is in Amsterdam, right? Edu, are you with us?
Hello. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me, Nicolas?
Yes. Now I put you in the spotlight. Great. Thank you.
Like this.
Just one very short parenthesis before we start with Edu. Susan and I are sitting in my home in Spain, and as I am the next presenter, I will have to be moving towards my own field so that I can show you in 15 minutes what I am growing. So don't worry if you see me moving a lot while we hear from Edu, okay? So Edu, please, the floor is yours. Tell us a bit about your farm, what you're growing, and how. I think it's really interesting comparing to what we just heard from a bigger scale farming. You are more doing vegetables and yeah, that's maybe interesting for our public.
Great, thanks, Nicolas. First of all, can you hear me good? I'm in the field. It's a bit windy.
It works perfectly.
But okay, fantastic. Well, thanks a lot for inviting me. I'm really sorry I couldn't join earlier. I was a bit busy here in the fields. And yeah, really happy to be here. So my name is Edu. I'm originally from Catalonia, but based in the Netherlands for the last 7 years already. And what I'm showing you around is the place where I'm working. It's a biodynamic farm. It's a combination of agroforestry with vegetables, and I'm responsible of the vegetables, running a project which is called PLUC, CSA, which stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And as I said, I'm surrounded of 8 hectares of fruit trees, berries, and the project that I'm running, it's around 1 hectare. And yeah, so it's kind of a small scale vegetable project, quite community oriented. And when we say this, it's because it's a self-harvested project that it's quite popular, I would say, in the Netherlands, Germany, Belgium, a bit less South Europe, don't know much worldwide, but basically the concept of this community supported agriculture self-harvest project is that we work as a food co-op, similar to food co-op. We have 240 members, which it's around 500 people, between 500 and 600 people. And families, instead of receiving a basket at their houses weekly, they have to come to the farm and they harvest themselves the products. That goes from April until December, approx. We're in North Europe. We cannot grow much food in winter. We grow some food, but we keep it for the farmers and friends and comrades. And yeah, and that's how it works, the self-harvest project. And we combine it also a lot with a big political agenda, or at least we try. We are connected with some grassroots collective working on climate issues and supporting small-scale farmers. We're connected with one university, which means we also have a lot of extra help from some interns and volunteers. And because of this reality, we do most of the work by hands. We do have of course, some motorized tools, but because of this reality, also because of the reality of being quite close to the city of Amsterdam, it's only half an hour cycling. Yeah, most of the tools we use are hand tools. Of course, except some mowers, we sometimes use a two-wheel tractor. But yeah, that's a little bit about the project. Right now, I'm sitting obviously in the bean field, and yeah, I'm really happy to start answering questions about the beans. And if there's any other question about the project itself, I'm also very happy to answer about that.
Nice, thank you, Edu. Can you hear me well? I switched from the computer to the phone.
Yes, perfectly.
So you wanted to tell us about all the different beans you're growing. You're growing peas and beans, I think, and fava beans and common beans, right?
Yeah, exactly, Nicolas. So I think if the sound is good, I'm gonna talk as showing you because I'm surrounded by them. So yeah, so basically beans here in the farm, it's a really important.
Okay, so Edu, you were starting to tell us about the beans you're growing, but we couldn't really hear you well. So can you tell again maybe the practices you use for these different crops that you have, and maybe the specificities, since people will come and harvest them, right?
Mm-hmm. So basically, I was explaining that here at the Plug CSA, this community supported agriculture, we plant quite different types of legumes, 5 types in the winter crops, as we call them, and 8 different types in summer. So the ones we produce in winter, like the broad beans, 3 different types of beans, early variety, late variety, and then some beans we brought from Jerusalem, way more resilient and adapted to warm weather, which is and drought, which is happening more and more often. We also plant 2 types of peas, snow peas and sugar snaps, and then we also have kapucijners, which is a native bean from the north of the Netherlands, from Friesland. And here maybe I can show you, we are drying them for saving the seeds for next year, and that's the structure that we use for them. We normally put a tripod in the beginning of the row, and then every 1 meter we put poles, and then some tripods in the middle. There's really strong winds here in the Netherlands, so we need to put quite heavy structures, and for these ones we use a net in between. And I'm explaining this because that's the difference we do for the summer crops. So summer crops, now we're having a transition, so we pass from broad beans, peas and the kapucijners to the runner beans that we planted today. As you can see here, this is a variety called Brunhilde. We plant 4 more types of the runner beans, and we plant 3 types of bush beans. Bush beans are those, the flat ones, both yellow, the round ones, both yellow and green, and they don't grow more than 1 meter above the ground. And in terms of structure, here we're experimenting with something different. These beans, the runner beans in summer, get way more heavier than the ones in winter, so we are putting here tripods more frequently, more like every 1 meter, and tripods of 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, and some structure on top to hold them stronger. And yeah, it's also in terms of irrigation, that's something we wanted to discuss. We don't need to water much because we live in the Netherlands, even though because of climate change the last 4 or 5 years we have a quite extensive drought for the conditions in this country. So we do have some water system, we do have sprinklers, water coming from the canals around, but we don't need to water them too much. And then some of the questions we also prepared was regarding the harvesting process. So I think very different from all your projects. We grow in like 1 hectare lots of different types of veggies, and I think the space for legumes is not that big. I think it's something 1,500 square meters, and it's a self-harvested project. That means that the 240 families that are harvesting in our project, we work as a co-op, they harvest themselves. So every week when we know which row of the beans is ready, we put a stick with signs so they know where to harvest. So that's pretty amazing because it's building a lot of community. People learn a lot how to harvest the crops, and it's also less work for the farmers. So that's always this type of farming, community supported agriculture, works quite good if you're close to a city or close to a big population. Of course, from rural areas it's quite complicated. Please feel free to share my contact if someone has any questions about the crops I'm sharing, where we get the seeds, how we save the seeds, how we deal with the community, and all the workshops and content we do regarding this. I would be really happy to answer later on. I hope you have a good webinar.
You as well?
Hello.
Hello, here we
Yeah,
are.
it works. Wonderful. So back to you.
Thank you. I will let Susan interview me then.
So we're in your field with the cowpea, and you're explaining to me that it's a particular variety of cowpea. So please tell us more about this particular Catalonian variety of cowpea and why it's so special.
So here you can see the experiment. It's like 1 strip in a field of mustard, which is the yellow dry crop around us. And on this strip of green plants, it's quite weedy. So it's not maybe the most beautiful cowpea field you could find, but that's what we have here. That's one of the difficult things we have with cultivation of cowpea. The variety is called Fesol de Luy Ros, and I'm going to show you a few of the dry seeds because we have some that are dry already. If you see here, this is how the dry pods look like. This would be the fresh pod, and it's called let's see if we get a seed that looks like, yeah, nice. So it's called Chessol de Louis Roche because it means bean with a pink eye or a brown eye. It's a bit almost like the black-eyed peas, the most common cowpea that you may have seen, but this one has an eye which is not black but brown, and that's a very local Catalan variety from the zone from the area where I live. And we are setting up this trial because it's a local variety that is declining, like many bean or legume varieties. It has lots of interesting properties, but it's difficult to produce, and people are buying more of the cheap one.
And it's expensive, you told me.
Yes, it's quite expensive to produce because of several factors. One is that maybe you can see it on this plant here. It already has some dry pods, like the ones we just got these dry seeds from. They're completely dry. And on the same plant, you see here, those are flowers that are not even open already. So it's like the plant is still green and it's still producing flowers, and it has here a small pod. And so you would like to harvest those ones to get the best quality before they start to get the humidity again, etc. But at the same time, the plant is still producing new ones. So you cannot come here with a combine harvester and harvest those ones. You would kill the crop and lose a lot of the production. So that's one thing. The phenology of the plant itself makes it difficult to mechanize. And it's also expensive because, as you can see, it has quite a lot of weeds, so you would need to come often to remove the weeds by hand. And of course, that's a lot of work. It's not like soybeans that we've seen in Liechtenstein, where you can come in with a machine to remove the weeds. Here, we would need a specific machine that can go in the crop when it's already very big. And you see here, the plant is actually spreading a lot, so you would damage all this if you would try to take out the weeds between the different rows. So it's like the variety has not been improved as other crops. It stayed as it was, like when it was grown by hand, and now we would like to mechanize it to get a lower cost of production, but it's difficult because of the plant architecture itself.
What about irrigation?
That's another factor. We are in Spain, in the north of Spain, but on the Mediterranean side, so it's very dry and very hot in the summer. And cowpea is one of the plants that are actually tolerant to drought. But like all the plants, they can be tolerant to drought, but they still need some water at some point. And here, some of the springs, it's very dry, so there is not a lot of water stored in the soil when you sow it. And then if it rains only once in the summer, like it sometimes happens, then the production will be quite low. So we've been also considering irrigation for this crop, even though it's a drought tolerant crop.
And you have to plant at a particular time in order to try to get the best growing conditions.
Yeah, that's also one of the factors. I've been designing this trial here with the farmer, Artur, who is not here today, but says hello to all of you. And one of his ideas was that we could try different sowing times and sowing techniques. So I'm going to show you the field again. What you see here is our trial. It's a bit difficult to see the rows because we didn't manage to remove all the weeds. It's been raining quite a lot 2 weeks ago after 2 months of drought. So the weeds were growing quite a lot. What we have here on the right, where I took the dry seeds, are the row that we've been sowing in the greenhouse and then transplanted here very early in the beginning of April. We've been sowing them in the end of March and transplanted in the beginning of April. And next to it, there is another row where you see the plants don't have these dry pods. And that's the row that we've been sowing a bit later and transplanting on the same date. So the plants were a bit bigger when we transplanted them, and they didn't suffer the drought as much as those ones. Those ones were already stressed and started to flower and to try to reproduce themselves. So they produce some pods very early on, and these ones did not. So we see already a big effect of this sowing date and transplanting dates.
But it's very labor intensive to transplant. And I think you told me he has a special piece of kit for transplanting.
That's true. Actually, was not so much work to transplant those 2 lines. You see, it's like 200 meters, maybe, the field. And we did this in very little time, actually, because Arthur has a very nice tool. You can see it in one of the Global Bean Show Garden videos on YouTube. If you look for cowpea transplanting in Global Bean on YouTube, you can find this video. Maybe we can also put the link in the chat. Basically, it's a tube. You take the tiny plant with its bit of soil. When it's been growing in the greenhouse, it has like 2-3 leaves, and you can just push the tube into the soil, let the plant drop in the tube, and then the tube opens and the plant is in the soil already. And you can really do like 1 second, 1 plant like this very quickly, because the tube is doing everything for you. So this is a really nice method that maybe you can use, Susan, with your beans in England, even, no?
I think so, yes. Yes, that's why I was interested in it.
Exactly. If you have lots of beans to transplant, I would definitely recommend. And maybe for the peas, for Edu in the Netherlands, it could also work.
And we had a very nice bean lunch. We had excellent food with Nicolas just before we came out to the fields, before we had the meeting. And he was explaining that he has plans to develop varieties.
Mm-hmm.
So would you like to tell us a little bit more what your plans are?
Yes, so here on this field, we're experimenting with the Fesol de Luiros variety as it is now. But we already know that due to this plant architecture, it's difficult, because we will not be able to harvest this mechanically. And we can improve it slightly with the sowing date, with the irrigation regime. We will make some improvement maybe and decrease the production cost. But still, it's going to be a difficult crop to mechanize, because as you see, the plant has this typical architecture of flowering while it already has the dry pods. So it's what's called indeterminate in botanical language. It's not stopping all its branches at the same time. Also, it does this plant architecture like this is not going to produce any pods. This is just leaves and stems. It's not really useful. So the plant is like throwing energy for nothing. And so I was thinking maybe we could have a look at some other cowpeas that exist from different countries, and see if there are some interesting traits there, and then do some kind of breeding, so that we still have the taste and the specificities of the Fesol de Luiros, but with a different plant architecture, for instance. So I'm going to bring you to another part of this field where I've been setting up lots of different varieties for comparison. In the meantime, if someone can read us 1 or 2 questions or comments from the chat, because we need to walk for maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah, so the news lately has been that Edu is preparing a video that we can show in a bit. That's a good news. Regarding your presentation, Nicolas, there has been a question or a remark actually regarding which was more related to soybeans. Sorry, the comment mentioned that people in Korea eat even soybean leaves. It is a kind of pickled leaves with fermented soy sauce or soybean paste. It sounds very good. Perhaps something we can showcase also on the platform. And the latest question has been if there are any similar culture in Europe.
You mean several different crops that are also cowpeas that are grown in other countries in Europe, maybe? Or do I interpret the question right? I will assume that was the question. Actually, yes, cowpea is not the most common legume in Europe, but here in this trial, I've been testing different varieties, and some of them come from Europe. There is one from Italy Fagiolina del Lago Trasimeno. I don't speak Italian, but I think that's more or less the name. And yeah, I guess there are some more typical varieties in other countries. Of course, cowpeas are more common in Africa or in Asia. So now we arrived at this, what I was telling you about. We will hear from Edu's video later then. Huh? That's really nice that people do that. Like I continue with my cowpea trial. So that's what I've been setting up here. Yeah, exactly. So I have only a few plants of each variety. Some didn't emerge at all, but I was sowing 30, I think, and I got 18 or something like that. So let me show you. There were lots of them that look quite similar to the fesol. So those ones are interesting also, but maybe less than some other ones like this. This one, it's called Top Pick Pink Eye, and it already says something in its name. You see that the pods and the flowers, of course, which will produce the pods, are all or almost all located on the top part of the plant. And I'm not sure you can see it. It also does this these stems that seem to want to climb, but not as much as the other one. And here, it's quite clear. Here you see, you have all the leaves here, and then on an upper, higher level, you have the flowers and the pods. So that's a really interesting architecture for the plant, and it's been designed by some researchers and breeders in the US, I think, so that it could be harvested easily with a combined harvester, because of course you don't have to go very low on the ground. And I think, I'm not sure yet, but that's also what I want to check. When the season advances, I will see. I think this variety is also determinate. So it means that, I mean, we see that there are some flowers and some pods, but it doesn't have very young flowers and dry pods already. I think it will be a bit more even, meaning that more or less all the pods will be ready at the same time. And then you can just come with a combined harvester, just like you do in peas or in soybeans. So that would be a big difference if we would manage to cross this one with the Fesol de Luiros, and then after several generations, keep these traits of the plant architecture, but also keep the traits that make for the nice taste of the Fesol. If this is doable, I'm not a breeder, but I think this could work. Then maybe in 10 or 12 years, we would have improved Fesol de Luiros variety that we can mechanize. I wanted to show you another couple of cowpeas that I also found interesting. So here, this is another variety. I have only 2 meters of it. Here I have only one plant of this variety, so I hope it will not die, so I can at least multiply the seeds, because all the other plants, all the other seeds just did not emerge. It seems like it has white pods, this one. This one is very, very bushy. I think it's one from Mallorca, so also from Spain, from the island. This one has very yellow flowers, so a bit different, but the same architecture. And I wanted to show you here some more varieties. This one is very low. Yeah. And here, what I found interesting is the contrast between this one, which is very, very low, and this one next to it, which has a completely different architecture. You see that there is quite some variability, some diversity within the species. So that's one way that breeders use to use the traits that are in varieties and integrate them in other varieties. I had some with purple flowers, just for the anecdotes. Not sure I will find them now, but I think you get the idea to do some, to check for the diversity and then use that into breeding.
It's fascinating. all these different varieties and how different they look and how different their habits are. It's fascinating.
I'm not sure if Edu is ready to show us a video. In the meantime, I can show you some ants that are eating on what is called extra floral nectar. So as you probably know, the flowers and legumes are no exception. The flowers produce nectar to attract insects so that the flowers get pollinated. And some legumes, including fava beans and I realize also cowpea, also produce nectar outside of the flowers. And this can seem a bit useless because in the interest of the plant, it should attract pollinators. But for the case of fava beans, it's been proven, researched that the plants does that to attract the natural enemies of some pests. So for instance, some wasps, they would come to eat the nectar on the flowers, outside of the flowers, not even in the flowers. So then they would be there in the crop, and when some aphids come or any other insect pest, the plant would be protected by these wasps. Look how many ants there are here.
I didn't know that.
So I'm not sure the ants do much for the cowpeas. Maybe they would
They're protecting it from aphids.
protect from aphids, maybe. But
yeah,
ants tend to also breed aphids. To almost have them like livestock. So,
oh, right.
yeah. That's it for the animal life on our cowpeas.
Wonderful. This just to remind everyone that we are sending out a newsletter on a monthly basis, and you're very welcome to subscribe just to be informed about the next meetings we have and about any further event and action we organize. And finally, on the last slide, I just wanted to mention our next event happening in September. So we will do in August short summer break, but in September, we will be back with a very important topic, which is the role that legumes can have in the climate crisis. So I think we will talk about very practical insights on which varieties of legumes are particularly drought resistant, but we will also take a step back and talk about the role of legumes in global food security. And I'm very much looking forward to this meeting. We will have a partner contributing from Serbia and another partner from Albania for sure. And if anyone else is interested to contribute, please let us know. Everyone is also always welcome to join our network. And we actually will have a partners meeting next week, next Tuesday, to discuss any further projects we want to work on within the Global Bean project.
There is one more slide, maybe I can present quickly. For those of you who also want to grow legume or already do, we have, as part of the Global Bean project, we have started with these focus groups. And one focus group is about legume cultivation, of course. And this is a very informal meeting where we can have a session where everyone comes with their own questions from their gardens or their own tips that they want to share with the community of other legume interested folks. And the next of these meetings will be on the 26th of July from 2 to 3 European summertime. We can use these meetings to answer your practical questions, but also to think together what kind of contents we can design to share the best practices. We already have the publications, the articles, the videos from the show gardens, the online meetings that like these ones. So this focus group can also be a place where we just brainstorm together, see how we can continue spreading information about legume cultivation for the great public or for our partners within the network. So please send us an email if you want to get the invitation to this focus group on the 26th. And now I have greetings from Malaga, from Turkey, from many more places, from Chile even, from Crete. Thanks so much for joining. It's amazing. what technology can and cannot do. Because I don't see many questions in the chat. We have to wait for one more minute. I will do something crazy and just open a pod of a random variety from my trial in exclusivity. I have no idea how the seeds will look like, but this one looks dry enough. So let's see. Can you help me, Susan? Yeah. Susan is a bean expert, so opening a pod should be no problem.
He says.
Can you?
Oh, look at this.
Oh, it's brown one.
It's brown ones, rosy brown.
Yeah,
lovely.
I could try to collect
Yes.
them, please.
Yeah. Well, don't worry.
You've done this before.
I won't let beans drop on the ground. I would lose them. There's a lot in there.
I can tell you the name of this one in 1 minute when I get my notes back from the other end of the field.
Here's a friendly ant.
Oh yeah. So let's take one. They are not 100% dry.
No, but they're beautiful.
They're quite big compared to the
no,
fesol.
Those are lovely.
They're nice. Yeah. They're probably tasty because they are big.
Yeah.
So
I keep that pod for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. We have one last question.
Yes.
The bean that you just showed, someone asked that what does it taste like?
How could I know? Because I mean, are you asking about the fesol or the one that I just
the
took
one
from?
that you,
Sorry.
The one you showed now, the brown one.
The brown one, I haven't have the opportunity to taste it because I just got maybe 30 seeds that I've been sowing them here in my trials. When I get a bigger quantity of seeds, I taste them, but this one I got really a small amount, so I cannot tell. I will get back to my notes so I can tell you at least the name of this variety. What I can tell you is that the Fesol de Luiros, if you find it, if you travel to Spain and find a shop where or a market where you can buy it, I would advise that you do buy them because they taste amazing. They are very soft and the skin is almost unnoticeable. And so now I need to find in my very messy notes what was the name of this one. Yes. Let's go back there. So it was called we had this one. It's called Maduria, or yeah, Manduria maybe. And the other one, which was very high next to it, has a name that corresponds to its architecture. It's called 3 feet plus, which explains, is explained by the fact that it's way higher than all the other ones and less bushy.
Yes. And
it's spreading on the ground like this. So the one we opened the pods, the brown ones, is Manduria. And I cannot tell you, I don't remember if it was one from Italy maybe. I got those from a bean collectioner from Italy, but he also gave me African and Brazilian cowpeas.
It's fun if you were dry.
Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm not watering this part of the field, so I'm testing these varieties also to check if there is some of them that are more drought tolerant. So I'm almost sure that they would be much bigger and have much more flowers and pods if I would have watered them. Because it's been raining a bit, 2 days in a row, but before that it was completely dry, and since then it's also completely dry. So they are struggling with drought. Susan was asking me if she saw that I have some kind of ridges or.
Yes,
It's actually because I'm weeding them with some kind of how you call that?
Trowel.
Yeah.
I'll
So,
read for you.
yeah, thank you. That's the weed we've been eating for lunch.
Yes. I'll do some reading while I'm waiting.
I'm not sure how it's called. Purslane, maybe.
Purslane, yes.
Purslane.
Yes. But so this isn't for watering. This isn't to hold the water.
Yeah, it can also help. I mean, now I did this for weeding mostly, but I also think it can kind of collect the water a bit more, like preventing it from going down the field. Okay, now we are well above the time, so if we don't get more questions, I don't know if Florian, Edu, Eke, Lisa, and Amanuel are still in the room. Here we can see some symptoms of
yes, I'm looking.
Of a fungi.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. If we don't have more questions from the public, I suggest that we can have a short round of feedback among members of the Global Bean team and the presenters. So thank you to all the participants, the public. Now I officially close this meeting for the public.